I never imagined that my son's wedding day would be the moment I realised I no longer had a place in my own family. I was standing near the edge of the reception area, holding a modest bouquet, smiling politely as guests passed by. Everything looked exactly as it should, laughter drifting through the air, glasses clinking, soft music humming beneath it all. Then my new daughter-in-law leaned toward me. Her voice was quiet, careful. But what she said landed like a blow. Her "please don't talk to my family." For a moment, my mind refused to process the words. I blinked, certain I had misunderstood. Weddings are chaotic, emotional. Surely this was a misunderstanding. Maybe nerves. Maybe stress. I forced a polite smile, waiting for her to laugh or clarify. She didn't. Instead, she shifted her gaze past me, and instinctively, I followed it. That was when my breath caught in my throat. Standing just a few steps away was a man I hadn't seen in over 20 years. A man whose face I had tried to forget. A man whose absence had shaped my entire adult life. Richard, my ex-husband, the father who walked away. The world seemed to tilt, and I had to grip the edge of a table to keep myself steady. In that instant, everything made sense. The warning, the cold distance, the insistence that I stay silent. If I stayed where I was for even a second longer, I knew I would shatter. So I swallowed hard, straightened my spine, and told myself I would survive this moment the same way I had survived so many others. Quietly, with dignity. That morning had started with hope. I had woken before sunrise, unable to sleep, carefully laying out the light blue dress Ethan had chosen for me weeks earlier. I remembered the way he'd smiled when he saw it. How proud he'd sounded when he said, "You look amazing, Mom," like the mother of the groom should. I'd held on to that moment. The venue was breathtaking, a vineyard in Napa Valley, endless rows of green vines stretching under a soft sky. White chairs lined the aisle, strings of lights hung from wooden beams. Everything looked like something torn from a magazine. Guests were already arriving, their laughter warm and easy. As I stepped onto the property, I took a deep breath and told myself this was the beginning of something new. Not just for Ethan, but for me too. A larger family, new traditions, a future where I wouldn't feel alone anymore. Ethan and I had been alone for a long time. When Richard left, Ethan was 8 years old. I still remembered the sound of the door closing behind him, the finality of it, the unpaid bills, the house I couldn't afford to keep. The nights I worked double shifts, days in a bakery, evenings cleaning office buildings, coming home exhausted but never letting my son see how scared I was. We had survived together. Birthday cakes made from scratch. School trips I scraped together money for. Long talks at the kitchen table when he asked why his father never called. Walking into that vineyard, I truly believed every sacrifice had led to this moment. The ceremony itself was beautiful. The music was gentle, the vows sincere. I clapped with the rest of the guests as Ethan and Sam walked back down the aisle, newly married. I told myself to forget the strange warning from earlier. Maybe Sam was overwhelmed. Maybe she'd explain later. At the reception, golden lights glowed overhead, and the smell of roasted food filled the air. I made myself smile, determined to be gracious. I even gathered the courage to approach Sam again. Her smile this time was tight. "Remember what I said," she murmured, glancing toward a group nearby. Her parents stood there, composed and polished. Other relatives surrounded them, chatting easily. I hesitated. "Sam, did I do something wrong?" "It's just better this way," she said calmly. "Trust me." Then she turned away. I felt heat rush to my face as I retreated toward the bar, pretending to study the appetizers while confusion churned inside me. Why would a bride deliberately isolate her husband's mother? I spotted Ethan across the courtyard and waved. He came over, his smile strained. "Everything okay, Mom?" "Why did Sam tell me not to speak to her family?" I asked quietly. He sighed. "It's complicated. We'll talk later." Later never came. Then the crowd shifted. A ripple of attention moved through the courtyard. Sam suddenly brightened and walked quickly toward a man who had just arrived. That was when I saw him clearly. Richard, confident, well-dressed, smiling like he belonged. My chest tightened as memories surged back. The nights Ethan cried himself to sleep, the years of silence, the weight of doing everything alone. And now here he was, welcomed warmly, shaking hands with Sam's parents, laughing like a guest of honor. I understood then why I had been warned. They didn't want me talking. They didn't want the truth slipping out. Anger burned through me, sharp and humiliating. I wanted to scream to expose him, to ask Ethan how he could allow this, but I knew better. A public scene would only make me the villain in their story, so I chose myself. I walked away from the centre of the celebration and found Ethan near the dessert table. "You knew he was coming," I said. He looked away. "Mom, today isn't the time." "When would have been?" I asked softly. He had no answer. That silence told me everything. I wished him well turned and left the vineyard without looking back. Later, I overheard Sam laughing with her friends. "My family likes Richard," she said lightly, "and he's paying for half the honeymoon. Linda's just history." I deleted the family group chat that night. A week later, Ethan called Monty. "I thought it would be easier if you didn't know," he said. "Easier for who?" I asked. We didn't resolve anything, and I realised we might never. So I built a life that didn't revolve around waiting. I reconnected with friends, volunteered, found joy in small, steady things. I learned that sometimes survival isn't loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's walking away quietly and choosing yourself. And that was something no one could ever take from me.